My name is Bob Fuller. I'm Chief Administration Officer for Fixnetix, and what that entails is I look after compliance, legal. I've been heavily involved in European legislation over many years. I also look after a few other things like HR, etc. Fixnetix office in the RegTech space come into three real parts. We provide infrastructure across the world, connectivity to enable that infrastructure to function, and we also do a lot of pre-risk trade checking. But if I talk about the first and you say, why is the first two anything to do with regs? Well, the change in market structure to an electronic market structure is meaning that people, big, large organisations have to adapt to that or they can't continue in business. We've had a very, very large global tier one bank say they cannot stay in a particular instrument unless they went electronic. They didn't have the expertise to do it, and we did to enable them to do that change. That was driven because of regulatory changes which caused market structure changes. So again, all follows together. The third part I said was pre-trade risk checking. One of the problems you have is as an executing broker, if you front some of the very large hedge funds which actually provide most of the liquidity, is you are responsible for the trades that they do. And if you look at Knight Securities, it's a very good example when they put a rogue algo in accidentally live, and they lost 400 million in, I think, 40 minutes and went bankrupt. The banks are very wary about being an executing broker, and that would happen because they're liable for those trades. Knight, I think, was an executing broker in its own right. So the big banks are saying, we need to check those trades, but the big hedge funds are saying, but you need to do it very quickly or else I'm out the market, because this is all about low latency. So we've developed a lot of very, very low latency, less than into the nanoseconds, that with all the trade checks that people need to do in order to check that that is valid, that you're happy to take the risk on totality of the risk, etc. So that has made us forerunners in that very, very low latency hedge fund executing broker marketplace across the globe. Fixnetix got involved with the RegTech forum because we have been for a long period of time. As I said, in MiFID I, I was actively involved with the European Commission, etc., how that was going prior to joining Fixnetix. But then all of those changes, I said, have driven Fixnetix's growth. It is very important to us. We therefore understand those reg changes, and we are a leading light for those reg changes as they move through our industry. So to that end, we've always tried to be a thought leader in those points, and we're looking for this event to help us to show people that we are that thought leader and we've understood what some of these issues are. For instance, I mean, who would have thought that Brexit was coming along a year or so ago, and Brexit has its own interesting regulatory impacts. There is still an open book as to whether Europe recognises UK as being a third-party country or it actually recognises it as being part of the EU. The current view of some of the tier one banks is they're going to split. They're going to have a European entity and a UK entity, and never the twain shall meet. Now, is that regulation? Well, yes, actually, in our view, it's a change to the regulatory regime. And it will force change upon our customers such that they can't necessarily move data between the UK and Europe because we're not part of the same economic area. So all of these changes have dramatic implications for our big customers and our small customers, and will change how they trade, where they trade, what they trade, and therefore what environments they need to maintain to do that.